Hello, everybody, and welcome to SEMA 2025. Here this afternoon on the Collision and Refinish SEMA stage. I am Jason Black with iCar, and next to me is Kelly Roberts with BTAG of North America. And today's subject is Break the Reflex, Rethink, Redefine, and Revolutionize. And we'll turn it over to Kelly Roberts here of BTAG. Hello, Kelly. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey everybody. Yeah, so my name's Kelly Roberts. I'm the Director of Skill Development for BTAG North America. I was born in the back of the body shop, if you want to call it something simple. Not literally, but almost, right? So I've been in it my entire life. I'm generational, and I love this industry. So I want to tell you a story here, so just jump right in it. Human behavior and observation. So when my daughter was quite young, we were out cruising in her grandpa's boat one day, and all of a sudden she just jumped up. I mean, we're cruising along, we're going about 50 miles an hour, and my daughter literally almost jumps out of the front of the boat. And what I noticed as I was reaching for her to save her, that frog had jumped out from underneath the chair that she was sitting on. So the observation was that she didn't think, she just reacted. And in that reaction, she put herself into a quite dangerous situation, and not from the ferocious man-eating frog that jumped out at her. No, it was her reflex, her behavior, or her reaction that created that situation. So today I'm going to speak to you about behavior, about reflex behavior and reaction. And we want to take advantage of a process of rethinking to redefine and then revolutionize the way that we approach collision repair by breaking reflex behavior or reaction behavior. So I also want to touch on it's dangerous if we don't. So let's get into it. This is really not a challenge as much as it is an opportunity because around us everything has changed. You know, you look around the show floor, everything is evolving, adapting. There's a lot of innovation that happens, especially in the vehicles that we're working on in this industry. And we get to decide how we respond to that. We shouldn't just react. We shouldn't rely on habit. We should choose and not just react like she did, right? So coming up on 40 years in the trade, I've come from a time when they built cars very heavy, very robust, very thick materials, just like tanks driving around on the road, right? And nowadays, they're not at all like that. They're not what I would call inherently strong. They are more programmed, engineered strength. So they were built thick before because thick equaled strong. So how are they getting the strength out of the cars today?
Well, that's one of the things, Kelly. You know, back then, you're right. Thick was stronger because the steel was so weak, you had to build it thicker to get any kind of strength. Unlike, you know, the technology today is much more advanced.
Yeah, so in my career, the span of my career, it's kind of a sweet spot that vehicles, materials they're being made out of, the way I explain it is they're being programmed to behave very specifically, right? So they're complex, they're exotic materials are being used. There's a complex, or what we call a system of behavior. They're intelligent, designed interactions between the materials during you know, just normal use, and then specific events like what we deal with in collision repair. So everything changed in my career, and that means that I needed to change. So I moved from working on thick to smart vehicles and smart materials. So that shift, that significant shift in manufacturing and technology meant that I needed to shift too. I couldn't keep reacting or acting the way I was because nowadays on these vehicles, it becomes dangerous. That reaction behavior becomes dangerous.
It does, definitely. I mean, you got to really think through everything you do in this industry anymore.
So I'm replacing my reactions, I'm replacing my gut feeling, my instinct, if you will, and now I'm acting by intent. I'm acting on design or on purpose, and I'm applying standards, which that process then fully realized produces consistency in my results. And it's safer. So when I act on purpose, I produce safer results, and my stress starts to go away. We go to
Not to mention you'll be more efficient in getting vehicles done.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's the real opportunity. People that think like the machines they're working on actually are acting in the best interests of those machines as well. Uh, I know this title, this slide sounds like the lead into a joke, but it's not a joke. This is what we deal with, right? So just think about this, and again, in behavior, how's that customer feel when they come into your body shop? There's a lot of uncertainty, there's emotions that are involved, there's a lot of stress. Maybe they're even stressed out from an experience they had at a different body shop, right? So that's a path of stress, and that's one of the stress paths that I'm going to talk about. And stress is a behavior as well. So the vehicle also shows up stressed. I mean, it's been smashed, it's been damaged, so it's under stress as well. And maybe there's other stress paths along that same thought process, other people that are involved, other situations. So we really have multiple collisions to manage. We are very quick to focus on the vehicle when we deal with stresses and we deal with emotions, and that we're dealing with people, right? So the collision isn't really the ending of anything. It's the beginning of an opportunity for us, again, to deal with things specifically and then on purpose. So it's really at that point where I believe that we change and we start to apply something we call triage. And I know I hear it said a lot in industry magazines and those things. I don't mean the triage in the medical term that we see on TV shows or that EMSs are using. I mean, triage basically is to first seek to understand the situation, the circumstances, the things that are involved. And when you understand that, then you can start to affect an upward movement in that person or in that thing to a better position. That's what I mean, to reduce stress through your processes. So in that context, create those improvement pathways which reduce the stress path and the stress that is in the people in the vehicles. So for people, it provides clarity, it provides confidence, and then for the vehicle, obviously, it provides that return to measured and consistent standards and behavior, engineered recovery, an engineered result. So we can use that same idea now with engineered strength that manufacturers are doing to produce these vehicles and apply that to our processes to create the result that we want. Remove the reaction, operate by design, create your results, engineer the outcome. So obviously that involves removing any reactionary behavior, any habit or any experience that I had in my history in this. Obviously, I'm not going to rely on first.
And I think a lot of what you're referring to is kind of like a standard SOP, right, in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it's a different way of thinking about the same thing. An SOP tends to be a two-dimensional product. When we add people to the equation, it becomes a third dimension of emotion, and then understanding those emotions, understanding those reactions or the behavior of it.
Right, and you talk about the emotions of those people, and that depends on their situation.
Well,
like say, some people were the one that got hit, they may be angry that they have to get their car done, right? Some people are the ones, maybe they made a mistake and they may feel some guilt. And so you're right, there is a lot of emotion there, but the emotions are not the same, so you do have to deal with that.
A collision of emotions and a collision of behaviors and different expectation, different experiences. So we generally fix cars very well. We deal with that collision, we move through that, but how well are we dealing with the behavior part of it, the people part of that? The second collision that we have to consider is that there are, like you're saying, different people, different opinions, different perspectives, and then what do we get as an outcome? Variability in our outcomes. So when we start making decisions based on what we think we see versus what we see, when we base them on what we probably know versus what we actually know, then does that improve stress or does it reduce stress? I mean, it's a simple concept, right? So when we lead with opinions, we definitely get inconsistency and we build stress. Whereas when we lead with facts and we take a step back and don't react, then we start to build consistency, that builds trust, and it builds an engineered solid outcome. That's the idea of the behavior. So remove the instinctive behavior. Again, design is intentional, and that should be the default versus me acting on my experience. My knee-jerk reaction in a situation, if I get into a situation, I just react to it. Sure, it's fast, but is it going to be the right result? What's the most popular KPI in our industry? What is it that we're measured on? What does the customer ask you when you they drop you the car, right?
Usually, will my paint match? Will it
when,
look like it did before I wrecked it?
When will my car be done?
And will my car be ready?
Speed.
Yeah.
So I will tell you, if you react in that situation, you will take longer to get that result than if you act with intention to design the outcome and get that result. So decisions take time, I get it, but they should, because you're choosing then to act on the right things through that understanding. So removing that reflex then allows us to act in intention to get that result. Slide 3. So the next slide, pose a question to you here when you see this slide. So when you approach a vehicle and there's damage on it, why should you never, why should you never consider repair or replace as a first result? So when you look at this picture, what's the first thing in your mind that you see when you look at that?
I see a ton of damage. I see a lot of direct damage, a lot of indirect damage, body lines destroyed.
And
That's what I'm looking at.
And different people are going to see different things. And a very common behavior when we look at damage, especially people in the industry, is they start this process of trying to assign the result in this situation, repair or replace. I'm not talking about repair or replace. I'm talking about the behavior of starting at trying to formulate a decision based on what evidence and what information. What do we know in that moment? Do we have what we need in order to formulate that outcome, or are we guessing? So our experience or our behavior then, if we follow that instead of breaking that, we're missing a lot of the factors that will allow us again to engineer that proper outcome versus just guessing our way through it. So the decision of repair or replace the operation is a verdict. It's a result. And if we avoid the evidence by just acting on a reaction or an instinct, like I look at that picture and I say, oh yeah, I think I could fix that, I'm really missing all of the other stuff that I need to understand first before I choose that result, because here's the rub.
Right.
Maybe it's not a replace, maybe it's not a repair, because the information that pertains to that and guides my hand says this is the way it has to be done. So how valuable is my experience now?
Right, yeah.
Yeah, it's a confrontational thing, right? So the first question I believe we have to ask is, what do we know in that moment when I first look at something? What do I really know? And what happened to the vehicle? What needs to happen to it? All those things. And I mean, yes, it's important to talk to customers and ask for their opinion, ask for the circumstances. Those are important things, but they're only part of that, and they don't determine the outcome. They add value to the evidence that we need to assess in order to determine that. So it's a journey of discovery, really, that I'm talking about, versus a reaction decision that comes from a lack of knowledge. So next slide. Oh, is it working? Thank you. So I talk about no beats no is something I used to use quite a lot. And what I mean by that is that the knowledge then starts to remove rejection or resistance to what the outcome is. If I start by collecting the facts of the situation, the knowledge that I need, the OEM data, for example, the documentation processes, and I perform objective diagnostics and observation measurements, all of those things, then not only does my uncertainty start to go away, but the customer's uncertainty falls as well. So it's only when I uncover or discover the verdict through that assessment, then I can assign that outcome based off the evidence. So the better I know, the better I plan.
Right, makes sense.
Oh, we jumped ahead one. Consider also that all that information actually guides everybody's position in the equation. So when we have the facts, when we have the information, then we know what we need to do versus we are guessing what we need to do. So the evidence leading then starts to develop the trust that follows, and the stress starts to diminish across. So instead of trying to guess when a customer is going to have their car back and reacting in that situation, as quickly as possible, now I can say, due to the extent of the damage, due to these factors and constraints of the situation, this is the time frame for this situation. Even if it's longer than what they want, it is factual and they can trust.
Right.
So instead of reacting, we want to get back as quickly as possible, well, of course you do.
Well, it's more important to get it done right and get it done safe than it is to get
Correct.
it done fast.
And again, all it matters because the vehicle's evolved. We're not dealing with something that I can just start wailing away on with a hammer. It's an engineered vehicle. It's designed, it's programmed to behave very specifically. So we need to restore that behavior. So just like us, the vehicles have behavior. Yes, by design. So if we look at that situation again of just reacting and choosing based off of what we believe, then in that outcome and in that situation that we're in, we could also have a very small deviation from that factor, that engineering, that could cause a catastrophic outcome across multiple systems. So this is really what caught my eye as I've gone through this trade now for as long as I have, that even a small component part, like I spoke about at the last team actually, was a part that actually functionally brought down an entire system of a vehicle. Very inconspicuous small part now had the ability to affect an entire safety system of the vehicle. And that's really the thing we need to understand and create that idea in somebody's mind that we have to focus on things beyond what's the obvious. We talk about program choreography, for example. Would look at a crash video and see all the chaos of that crash video and what's going on. That is by design, even though it looks very chaotic, right? So least intrusive is a philosophy that we start to approach when we're stepping back and really assessing and evaluating. Then we want to choose only what's required as well. And our hand is being guided by the information. Do only what's right for the vehicle or what's required versus doing a more invasive, more intrusive, unnecessary thing. Right. Again, from our reaction and a lack of that intention. So this side here I talk about see it, say it, do it is something that I bring up. And this is an example of seeing it not in terms of repair, replace, but in terms of what we're actually up against, the facts of the damage. So this example here then is a way of seeing the anatomy or seeing the ingredients in a damaged area. So it's just a different way of again, changing my behavior of approaching a vehicle and seeing repair, replace, versus in this situation, seeing the ingredients of the damage and how I would then approach that repair. Next slide. So visualization, like the slide before, is a process that I apply that eliminates then my behavior, my existing behavior, my my experience, right? And that's a hard thing for me, and my ego is getting in the way. But that last slide is how I see damage now. Mm-hmm. So when I look at damage, when I look at a dent, I see it in that light now. And then what I'm able to do is explain it. So as you go through, Jason, then you start clicking there, then I start to assign these terms to these damage areas, and these are facts of the damage. They're not my opinion. It's not an experience anymore. Right. It's factual, right? Which is a very powerful a way to assess and then also to explain. So I'm able to say it confidently by, again, dissecting that damage and assigning these factors or these constraints that are part of it. Once I've collected all that information, then all of that stuff that I've looked at, all of that information I've collected, then is the evidence that proves the path and the process that I intend to move forward is the right thing to do.
Right, yeah.
So the end is justified by the means throughout, right?
Yep.
Perfect. So slide 6. So every panel then, if we look at it in that light, every situation then tells us a story, and I think it's in our best interest to truly understand the story, take a step back, and instead of assuming things, really step back, change our behavior, our reactions to things, and start to really design and look at what the evidence of the situation is. And when we do that, we start to really design our outcomes, and we start to reduce the stress that's inherent without having plans and it really respects the vehicle design as well. So we want to apply a process of suspending our behavior, of triaging the vehicles properly, obviously looking through those options and then providing our result. And when we do that, then we end up in a better place and the customers get a better experience, and that involves less stress throughout. So
I agree. I agree. Well, we're about out of time, Kelly. I want to tell you I greatly appreciate you coming, spending time, and sharing your information and your knowledge with us.
Fantastic.
And with the collision industry. And that's all. Thank you.
Thank you.